to some extent, when I've been working on these criminal records, I've realized that some of that may allow us to understand the physicality, the aspect of people, of poorer people. Obviously, they steal from those who have things, but there are descriptions of how they get into houses, or at least they tell us what they steal to sell, or what they steal out of desire to possess. They dealt with issues related to the nobility, but they also dealt with these complicated issues of, and they would be called mixed fori, of mixed forums, I guess, fori, and that concerned certainly Jews and religious cases in Poland. We also have almost none in terms of robberies of Protestant churches, and I'm not sure because whether they were so stripped of any wealth and so simplistic that there was nothing to steal. And again, they waited a year, they made clothes, and the way the crime was discovered is that the girls were seen wearing the dresses out of this very unusual cloth. And jupan is a very specific thing. That's the kind of clothes. It's traditionally thought to have been worn by the nobles. I mean, that's where you have it exactly. So again, there are stealing. There are sometimes immediately wearing the clothes that they steal from Jews. Sometimes they are remaking them, whether we don't know whether because they look different or whether because they are too big, they are too small, they don't want to sell. They took it to the same goldsmith, to melt, and he says, I made those. They are certainly from that coffin.
These two teenage girls go into the closet and say, look what we found! Oh! Steal it from their father, go to the goldsmith because they're too stupid to know what they look. I mean, I'm saying it facetiously, but in fact, you never really know.
Business is business.
Well, I'm wondering. I mean,
maybe they thought a year would get rid of that. Maybe that was part of the reason.
Don't forget, they did remake the clothes.
But it's in that particular text, there's no indication of there's no evidence for whether Jews wore similar or different clothes, because they made clothes out of fabric.
No, what I wanted to bring in is that there is this crossing of these very religious boundaries of not only breaking into the church and taking fabric from the church, but actually breaking into a tomb and taking they held it. They didn't just do it for money. They did it for this cloth. So that's the thing in terms of yes, it's unclear whether they wore different, but it's the boundary crossing religious into a different religious space, very loaded religious space.
What's stolen is in fact textiles that are remade into different clothes.
Not always.
Only the thieves in the second text are actually putting on Jewish clothes, and that brings up another issue, which is the question of social margins. We're talking about marginal people here, and in the social margins, all the kind of boundaries that you're talking about, they don't exist there. And so if we say, no, these are crossing boundaries, what you're saying is, I accept the definition of boundaries by the people making the
you're absolutely right, that we end up, and we're sort of tied up in this language of those who wanted to set those boundaries.
That's a Gemara.
Tzedakah is a very problematic idea. It's an extreme, I mean, they argue about it endlessly.
In the 11th century, they don't have such a big problem, but that's not...
Wrong.
Benu Gershon doesn't have a problem because the Gemara in Bava Batra.
But you're absolutely wrong, because in fact the justification for it is, I mean, we can look at the text.
You can actually protect your loved one, your Christian loved one, by clothing her in shatnez.
Who knows? Who